Hello everyone, welcome to the LARP Tales podcast. My name is Oliver, I'm one half of your hosting duo. Joining me, as always, is my wife and co-host Robyn. Hey Robyn.
Hey Oliver.
And today we are going to be continuing our recap of Empire LARP E1 2024. This will be part 3 of this podcast series covering E1. Go check out the other 2 if you haven't already. Before we get into this episode, let's do our housekeeping. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you follow, like, subscribe to the channel if you are new to us here at To Have and To Roll, so you know when new content comes your way. If you're listening to LARP Tales on an audio platform like iTunes or Spotify, give us a 5-star review. That just helps people find the content. We also have a Patreon as well if you want to go check that out. That's just a little tip jar that we have available for people to support us in that way. If you want to, you are of course under no obligation to do so. And with that all out of the way, let's get into our recap of Empire LARP E1 Part 3.
So last time we left off after the results of the Knight Protector of Winter tourney, also known as Kapow.
You said that to me yesterday. I was like, what? Because you changed all your Discord names to KPOW. No, Kapow.
I mean, it was actually Tom that noticed it originally. He was like, did you realize the Knight Protector of Winter like shortens down to Kapow? Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so the next big thing to happen, of course, was the Empress coming through Dawn. So the Empress was going through all the nations, and was basically spending like 10 minutes in every nation to address them on her way round to the actual coronation. And Dawn was like second last. I think it was Dawn, then Brass Coast, and then that was it.
Yeah, it was Brass Coast was the last one. So she came round. She stood in the Glory Square, made a speech. Because this was right instantly after the Knight Protector tournament, and then we had the senator elections like right after. So she kind of jumped in between. Then it all worked out in the end. So, Vesna came into the Glory Square, addressed the people of Dawn, and then moved on. Is there anything really much else to say about us seeing the Empress? Because that was the only time I actually saw the Empress this event, really.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because then like the next bit would have been actually no, that's the only time that I ended up seeing the Emperor at the event, because then we didn't see, like, spoiler, we didn't actually see the coronation because that comes later. But yeah, because she came through there, and but it was really cool and everything, to have everybody around the Glory Square. And I'm glad she came into the actual Glory Square as well. That was pretty cool.
It had to.
It had to be the Glory Square. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's the only place that made sense to address Dawn. So
yeah, no, it was absolutely wonderful. So as she carried off down the road, next we had our senator elections for 2 territories. We had our election for Astolat and also for Weirwater.
So they've changed the system in Dawn for choosing senators. People that aren't aware, in Empire, so that every nation will have their senators. They have a senator for each territory that they control. Dawn currently, after the events of last year, has 4 senators because we have 4 territories. Usually, like, the territories are split. The elections are split across the different events, so that every event there's like a senatorial election. They try and spread it out a bit, but if there is a vacant seat, and this goes for like generals and all sorts as well, if there's a vacant seat, then they try and fill that seat as quick as possible by having an election process. So the way senators are elected depends on the nation that you're in. But the Senate, obviously the senators are a part of the Senate. They have a lot to do with the decision making. In the Empire, they choose our generals. They put motions for, is it motions? They put
Yeah.
yeah, they put yeah. I had
Yeah.
a brain freeze there. I was like, "Is emotions?" They put motions for it. So
Go
basically,
for it.
if you want big changes to be made in the empire, you need to be like a priest or a senator, to put these types of things through. So in Dawn, we used to have things called favors, which I liked the premise of them. I think I know what they were trying to do with them. So I think the flavor was that uh, you, as a noble, because only nobles got favors, as a noble, you could give your favor to someone, and that favor could be used as a vote in the senatorial election, right? The flavor is, it's like a. I think they drew inspiration from like a lady's favor in a nightly tournament. Basically, it was just like, oh yeah, who wants to win? Oh yeah, I basically give you my favor because I think you're glorious, And I like the
Yeah.
idea because the idea was that me as a noble, I could see someone do something really glorious on the battlefield or take initiative doing something, and I'd be like, you know what, you've earned my favor. Do with it what you want, and they're allowed to do anything they want with that favor. They're allowed to give it to whoever is running for senator. Um, the problem was with that is that once those favors were out there, PD lost track of them completely because of the nature of them. So basically, you didn't have to use them. They could just hang around. And what people were doing is as the voting system. This isn't like, oh, they shouldn't have been doing this. This is a perfectly valid way of role playing this system, that they
Yeah.
were obviously collecting lots and lots of favors, and because the votes weren't tied to a territory, they could be used for any senatorial election. Obviously, people were like stockpiling them, and then they were like throwing certain elections to then make sure that there was an abundance of favors for the next election, the territory they actually wanted. And then there was issues like so people might remember me saying that I spent a lot of time in God last year at E2. That was because one of my favor, Godric's favor, was one of the like dud favors that screwed a system up, and it was very confusing because then I got another favor and I didn't know whether I should have one, and I ended up in like the God tent for ages. I ended up going to actually speak to like you know uh Matt and Graham and all that in the trailer, because it just trying to figure out what was going on, trying to track down. And obviously one of the issues was that my favor wasn't on the system, but who knows why that was? That maybe there was probably a noble that had it somewhere. So I'm assuming all these reasons are the reasons they've changed it. So they've changed it now. So the new system is territory locked, which
Yeah.
I prefer. So if you are a noble of so we are nobles of Weirwater, and when the Weirwater election comes up, we can only vote for Weirwater. So we can only vote as nobles for that specific territory, which I think has made the game way more interesting for a start, because people aren't. You haven't got a lot of people running around being like, "Oh, you're a noble? Do you have a favor?" And you're like, "No, I gave it away last season." They know that you're a Weirwater noble, so they're coming for you. They're like, "Right, okay, I know that house is Weirwater, so when Weirwater eventually comes around, they're like, right, I'm going to speak to those people."
Yeah. Plus, it's physical voting as well.
Hmm.
So it was done in the actual Glory Square. And everybody as they would come in. So it was the ASLAT election first. So they were got the people who are standing as senator, and they would physically go and stand behind them and actually be physically counted there, which is quite juicy. I like that. It's kind of like, I am publicly showing
Publicly, yeah,
who I'm supporting.
yeah, way better.
And I prefer it so much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, and it was faster. It was so much faster instead of like counting
Oh
out
yeah.
ribbons and things like that, and people running around being like, "I need another ribbon, another two ribbons," and blah blah blah.
Plus, it's like a big shout out to like loyalty as well. When you're like, if you say you're going to support someone, it's kind of obvious if you don't want to support them because you've literally got to look at that person in the eye as you walk past them
Yeah,
to
you
the
do. Yeah,
vote.
and obviously you have to show up. I think that there was like, I think it needs to be hammered out a little bit, like what because we panicked a little bit because Morrigan went off. Sort of like our enchantress went off after Vesna had left because she was giving a gift from Dawn to the new empress, and the coronation was happening pretty much as this senatorial elections were going on as well. So
Yeah.
we had a noble missing as well, and there was someone in our house. So Lucan was going for senator of Weirwater. So there was a little bit like, oh, did the nobles have to be here? Do they not have to be here? Can they do a proxy? Can they? So we didn't really know. We just assumed, oh, then the egregore was like, okay, well, any nobles like stand by your candidate basically. So we're like, oh no, we actually have to be here. So yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah. So the did the Astala election first, and then it came on to the Weirwater election, which is the one that we had someone standing for. So we all just kind of like stayed around the glory square after the tourney, after the emperor had been round, and after the Aslat election, and kind of waited for it because we had a noble in our house who was going for it. And this is what I'd said in one of the previous episodes that on the Friday night, spent a lot of time in tents talking. It was all for getting support for the Night Protector tourney and for the senator election for Weirwater. So we did a lot of just like spending time with other houses, getting to know them, and it paid off.
Yeah. Lucan did so well because it was like,
Oh,
basically first event in our house, new character, and it wasn't because Weirwater wasn't supposed to be up. It was because it was vacant. So it was like, I think he was like, I'm thinking about going for senator, and then it was like, well, this is an opportunity to go for senator, like right here, right now. This is like the perfect opportunity. You know, the seat is open, and we got a new system, and we can. So like a lot of that work was done out on the Friday night, basically, which is pretty cool.
well, that's the thing
Yeah.
because like it was really close to
Mm,
the event, wasn't it? That we were like, wait, Weirwater's up for election. We didn't. It was within like a week or two of the event,
yeah.
so there wasn't a lot of prep time there.
Yeah.
So there was so much role play on that Friday night,
Mm,
and then also into the Saturday as well, obviously,
yeah.
to try and make that happen.
But it was quite a fun, like, because it was actually ended up being like us and another Weirwater house that competed against each other for both titles. So like which is quite fun, you know. It's like I love that type of political PvP in Dawn because that's what you come to Dawn for a lot of the time is people like that kind of game of houses type thing. But yeah, it was funny that we were kind of running against the same people in both things. We won the senatorial election, by the way, so we haven't actually said
Yes.
that. Yeah, we won the senatorial election. It was a little bit closer than the Night Protector tournament was. Right enough, it was a little bit more heart racing than the actual
Is that
tournament
way
was.
that we're counting people? We're like counting them really quickly, be like, okay, let's just do another count again. How close are we here?
Yeah, people could make that very dramatic, especially with like people needing to be there. And there was a little bit of like, oh yeah, isn't it? And then because it was a close race,
It was
and
close enough that if one or two nobles came running into the square to be like, oh, I'm here now, and went to a different side, we would be like, oh.
oh no, yeah, basically, if two nobles came up and went, we're choosing this person, then it could have swung it basically. So yeah, no, that was a lucrative couple of hours really for House Mortaire. We ended up with two imperial positions, freaking awesome.
And I think Lucan and Nymeria both like went back to the house tent after that. We're like, just gonna go in here for a few minutes and just try to yeah.
And then
that was a lot really quickly.
and then instantly, like a bit like when you were Night Protector as Aranel, like you had people that was your first taste of like, oh, I've got a title and people wanted to speak to you. Like Nymeria wasn't any different. Like as soon as you won that title, people were like, oh yeah, can I speak to you? Type of thing.
Oh yeah. Yes, I have a new vacancy. I need a note writer to follow me around and write as people speak. Because I was just like, oh, come on.
Yeah. I mean that would be very valuable to have like a little team of people that is like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna just write things down for you. I kind of needed that this time as well.
I've already found someone. I've found someone that think they know who they are. I'm gonna message them.
Yeah.
I found someone who has been doing an incredible job at getting information, gathering it, and coming over to Nymeria, and I'm just like, You're because this player is like a new player and they've been brilliant. And I'm
Mhm.
just like every time I see them because I ended up instantly with a load of things to do. And I was like, oh no. And I had to go speak to someone. They were like, do you want me to go and speak and get the information? I was like, yes, I do. That's a great use for you right now. I just love it. So yeah, we did all that. Then we stepped away for a little bit because well
Well,
no well, we
we
tried to step away, we didn't.
we tried to step away. We didn't. We didn't. So we missed the coronation, which just happened. I never force things when I'm LARPing. Like if we're doing like this is always just a recap, like for our enjoyment and yours. I'm disappointed for you, the listeners, that we didn't go get to see the coronation because I would have liked to have like put forward what I saw. However, I do know that um, Pixie, who was a uh, podcast guest last year, came on, talked about Varushka. So he plays Belikov, who is the father to the throne. Uh, he has a podcast. I believe it's called Imagine If You Will, a LARP podcast. I believe that's what it's called. Anyway, go check his because I'm pretty sure he has a description of what happened during the coronation because he had like a front row seat to it. So if you're interested in that, I'll link it. I'll link it down below. I'm sure Pixie
He's
won't
got some
mind.
fantastic photos as well. It's come out a bit. It's
Mm,
the photos of him like whispering into her ear, and I'm like, we know this is going to be something silly you're saying to her
yeah,
right now. We
yeah.
know it.
Yeah, like jumping ahead in time a little bit, we actually got we got a good experience of the coronation in roleplay because we heard about it from Morrigan because
Yeah.
Morrigan was there, so we got in roleplay we got like the down low of what was happening there and who arrived because I know that so that what we know is that like obviously you had all the people from the different nations giving gifts and this that the other and there was lots of speeches but also we had like foreign nations and barbarian nations there as well. I know there was Grendel that came up and there was salt lords that had come to give like gifts or whatever. I think they were like really kind of poking at Lesnar basically saying, "Oh yeah, you're more than welcome to trade in our new, our new dock and shore and things like that." Because basically they've taken the Brass Coast currently. They haven't taken it. They haven't taken it yet. Technically, mechanically, they haven't taken it. But yeah, there was a lot of kind of jibing and things like that. I think she got gifted like the dagger that killed the one of the like the first Varushkan Empress as well.
No, not the dagger that killed her. There was an assassination attempt on her.
Ah, right, okay.
On the previous empress, there was on a previous empress,
Mm.
there was an assassination attempt.
Varkula, I
It
believe.
was an yeah. The it was unsuccessful, and the
Mm.
empress chose to keep the dagger that was used to try
Ah,
and
right,
take her
okay.
life with her as like a I don't know if it was like a symbol of power or something along those sort of lines, but this is the one that was gifted. So at first when we heard the story it sounded like a threat, and then it was more like no, this is like
This is
freaking
cool,
cool,
yeah.
like she now carries this, like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's almost like a threat of don't even try
yeah.
it.
Anyway, we missed it. Didn't get to see it. Much like the Matilda Fisher thing, we didn't get to see that. So, what were we doing straight after the senator elections?
Okay, so my mind goes a little bit foggy on the order of things here, but I know that we ended up right, we were going to go and take a little bit of a break away at this point. In fact, I think we actually did because a couple hours later we did go for a little bit of a break, and I think this is actually when we ended up going to see Pixie,
Hmm.
because we ended up going sitting with Pixie, having a chat. Yes, it was because this was like the first thing we did before the next journey is we went to see Pixie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
So
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, because when you think about, it, we did like the battle, we did Night Protector, and that was just like that was obviously a lot of like nerves and things like that leading up to that. senator elections, you know, being like, oh yeah, and the excitement about the throne coming round. And at this point, we hadn't eaten, so and it's like 3 o'clock, you know. So
We got soup. That's what we were doing.
oh yeah, oh we
We
went to the
got
marches.
soup.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh,
Yeah, we went to the marches.
can
'Cause,
I just tell everyone
hmm,
you need to go and get soup in the marches?
yeah, it's the soup kitchen. I don't know whether the soup kitchen is going to be there every event or whether it's just the cold event.
I think
Um,
it needs to be there
yeah.
every event.
Yeah, because I think we bumped into someone we knew with because we were heading to the food vans, and they had like soup, and I was like, "Where did you get that?" And they're like, "Oh, soup kitchen." And the market, I'm like, "Oh, we'll head up there."
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we managed to get something to eat. We managed to walk around, chat to a few people. It was brilliant. We actually got to like, properly almost like chill out for a bit at that
Mm,
point.
yeah, bumped
Yeah.
into bumped into Bobbert,
Yeah, we did.
bumped into Bobbert and uh, general of the Bounders, and
Mm-hmm.
he was eating some potatoes, and he was like, "Oh yeah, these potatoes are really good." I was like, I don't think I actually ended up having the potatoes, but we had to talk about potatoes because that's really marchery thing to do.
Marches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he asked us if we wanted to go on a skirmish.
And we were like, no, we're not really up for that.
No, he was like, "You sure?" Like it's cold sun skirmish, and I was like, "No, screw that. I'm not going on a
Nah.
skirmish." Yeah, yeah,
We and then we were like, nah, screw that.
yeah,
And then Wendy came over and was like, oh, I want to go on a cold sun skirmish. And we're like,
yeah.
nah, screw that.
Yeah, I'm not going on a cold sun skirmish. And that was the last we ever saw of them. Because, like, you know, whatever, 2 hours, 3 hours later, you know, it was getting dark. Yeah, someone came over to us in dawn and went, "Oh, Bobbert's dead." I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, cold sun, um, bastards. Yeah,
Yeah, so we ate our soup and we headed over to see Pixie.
yeah. That was a lot later. We found out
Oh
they
yeah,
died.
yeah.
They
I'll go
died.
through and we found out because
Yeah,
that was heartbreaking when we
yeah.
actually found out it was absolutely
Yeah,
devastating.
yeah. We went and saw
Oh
Belikov. Well, yeah, because I remember we were like walking back, and let's go via Varushka's. We haven't been. I was like, we'll see if
mm.
we'll see if
We
they're
wanted to see the
in.
loom.
Well, yeah, we were like, we'll see if we can see the loom, and we'll see if Belikov's in. Because we know this is a fair bit after, and then obviously, Belikov's who always full of energy, and it's like he's like, no, come have some hospitality. I've just well, no, he's like, I've just spoken to a Grendel Salt Lord. I've just been speaking to one. I was like, okay, okay,
Hey,
so.
so yeah.
Yeah. We sat down, and he was telling us about the Grendel Salt Lord. He was all excited because he was like, "How often do you get to sit down and speak to your enemy?" So yeah, he was telling us about what the Salt Lord had said. We had a little bit of kind of OC and IC, kind of like just having a break. Um, he was very much. We talked about time and things like that, and we kind of yeah, we've come to this thing that it's like you have to be very greedy with your time. Unfortunately, at Empire,
Yeah.
there's only 3 days. Especially when if you're getting into more and more game, you can't do everything. Like you literally can't. And when people are like, "Oh, can you come do this?" Because I know you were asked to go on a conjunction, um, later that night, and I could see you were like completely frazzled, you were a bit overwhelmed by the fact that how well the Night Protector tournament went, but it was a lot of energy. There was a lot of like speaking and role playing, and a lot of it's a lot of conflict as well, not like bad conflict, but like PvP conflict as well. And I could see you were just like completely drained, and you were like, "Oof," and I was like, just tell the people that you can't. You just need to have an OC, I can't do it type thing.
I like This was an amazing event. I did struggle, and I had like a really like bad moment at one point, when I was just like, so I'd like ran out of like meds a couple of days before the event, and I was like, it'll be fine. Normally I take double at an event just to kind of cope with everything that's happening, and I was like, it'll be fine. And I was really noticing how much it was affecting me. At one point, I actually like I think like sat down with Kate, because I remember like she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I don't know. Can we go out of character for a bit? We just like sat down and chat for a few minutes, just like, oh, okay, we're fine. Let's carry on, because I had that sort of thing of, oh no, people want to talk to me. I need to speak to them. These people supported me. I need to go around and speak to them all and everything. And then I just kind of went, okay, we need to stop. And Pixie is really good at like pep talking people and just bringing them back down. Be like, okay, let's just take a break. We're going to go kind of OCIC. We'll just switch between them. We'll just, relax for a bit. And
Yeah.
that was needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just also change of scenery. Even though Varushka's still on the field, still in character, it was a nice little change of scenery, just to nip in there, have 5 minutes, and then we moved on. My mind's currently like blank between what we did between
Oh,
now
okay.
and like the evening.
Right. So what we did now is we headed back to Dawn because I had to get into a different kit. So
I
we
completely forgot about that until right now. I'm like, why were we so stressed? Oh yeah, because we had a load more stuff to do. Yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah.
had to change kit again. So there was the Festival of Remembrance, and this was in Dawn. Now, people could gird as fallen Dawnish, and these could be from any point, basically. And, like, for example, you could gird as your previous character if you wanted to do that. And I had thought about that, but Kate and I were talking, and we were like, wait, we both have previous characters. Let's gird as each other's fallen character, because there was reasons for it, and we were able to make it work really well, like narratively, and we're like, let's do this. So um both characters were changelings, which is great. They both had totally different trappings though. So Kate's previous character had a full feather brow, and mine had antlers. So it was Kate and I sitting in this tent trying to glue things to each other, trying to get into kit. Her previous character was an Orzal, so I was able to borrow a shield from House Orzal. Um, we were able to just like get all sorted out, because this, of course, was a tournament. Um, we headed up to the Glory Square. Now, the idea of this was all the previous Dawnish fallen heroes would come into the Glory Square, and they would fight Black Knights. And it was more theatrical. It was there, so obviously the Dawnish heroes were going to win and defeat their Black Knights. We were getting ready to go in, and we didn't have a lot of Black Knights. Actually, we're a little bit slim on Black Knights, and the person who's running it, I've been asked about grappling and stuff, and they said, oh well, yeah, people can grapple if they've said it's okay, if they've discussed it already. So I like ran over to the wolf porn tent, because I knew that's where Damon was.
Yeah, I was just gonna have a sit down for 2 minutes.
Grabbed. I was like, get you want to fight? We're allowed to grapple. Come on, let's go.
No, to be fair, I wanted to. You were just like, oh yeah. I was like, if I've got time to jump in as a Black Knight, I will definitely Black Knight.
So you got to be part of it, and this was amazing. So first of all the heroes went and they were announced, or they announced themselves, and Kate and Graham both went in and girded is Aranel and Godric.
Yeah. This was something. This was something pretty special. To see. Like, I'm so glad that like Kate and Graham um, wanted to step up and be Aranel and Godric, because it would have been weird for Nymeria and Damon to do it. I don't feel like Nymeria and Damon would have kind of done that, like, because they're part of the same family. they were
Yeah.
technically brother and sister with them, you know? So, like, they would have already, you know, done their kind of like mourning over them as well. But also the fact that, like, and I said this last year, like E4, the fact that, like, my time with Godric is over. Um, and that character now is like the world's. So to have people like take up that character and then be like, oh yeah, you know, this is what I thought of them, this is that the other, like all the things that happened at E4 that people did for Godric and RNL, the like the songs that were written for them, and the you know even like you know the ribbons in the loom that Belikov did, and yeah, it's I'm glad that other people did it basically, because if I'd go, I think you feel the same. If I go as my own character, it just wouldn't have been, because it would have been obviously bizarre, because then it would have been me being Godric again. But it was really cool seeing it from through Damon's eyes, you know, not you know mine almost, which was a weird experience, but
Yeah.
amazing.
Like I would want to, obviously I like to whispers and be RNL again. I don't want to Curtis her. I want to be her again. And that's a different feeling.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
miss her too much.
yeah. So like so in cat, because obviously there's like layers to girding as well, because you've got the player who's playing the character who's then girding as another character. So
It's played by another player.
who's played by another player. Yeah, so there's layers to this. So they came in. It was like, it was thematic as well. That you know, Godric and Aranel had a good relationship with House Griffin Song, and Mercy, and the fact that, you know, Mercy came in and introduced them as well. So you know, Godric. So Reynard was good as Godric, and he had his Godric shield, and you know the you know the flower crown and the Descendress colors, you know, and introduced as the champion of accolades, and Persephone was girded as Aranel, and was, you know, introduced as the Night Protector of Winter, and you know they came in as a team together, and it was just like, yeah, it
Oh,
was
it's beautiful.
yeah.
They fought side by side,
Mm.
came in together, they were announced together. It was just beautiful and just wonderful to
Yeah,
see.
and it was, again, it was because I was a little bit distant because we were fighting. In fact, let's talk about that. So like they were on the other side of the tournament
Mm.
to us, because you were girded
So
as Lady Glee.
I was girding as Lady Glee.
Hmm.
Now, Nymeria and Glee grew up together. They were best friends, and then eventually they became sisters. So it made a lot of sense for Nymeria to gird as Glee, um, because Glee was like her world, and she loved her so much. That kind of is what brings like Sephi and Nymeria together now. So it's like it's really cool to be able to do all this stuff. That's one of the cool things about losing a character, is I was able to make connections with some of my like closest friends. I was able to be like, hey, we now can make a really strong connection. So I spoke to Kate and I was like, well, what would Glee do? Like when she'd enter and everything. She would no, like, Glee would she would let everyone else go first. She was independent. She would go in and announce herself to the world, and she would take on everything that comes her way, because like she died fighting a bear. Like she's a badass. So I got to watch them going in and doing all this and be like, don't get emotional, don't get emotional, you are Lady Glee right now. And go in at the end, which
Yeah,
is
and you introduced
amazing.
yourself, which was you did really well. Like introducing yourself. You were like, okay.
I was gonna get well, the thing is, wouldn't tell anyone I was
Mm,
doing it,
yeah.
and saw Ash, and he looked like he was going to start crying straight away just at the sight of Glee. And I was
Mm,
just like, yeah,
yeah.
this is a good bit.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's such a weird, like, cathartic thing. This, isn't it? It's just like playing fake characters that are played by other fake characters that are like pretending to be these fake characters. It's a weird one, but the thing is, it's like looking into a mirror of your life, because these are things that you did, you embodied, you know. So let's go over the what you did with like glee because I was like, right, okay, I'll call our Black Knight. And you were like, oh, cool. So I think what you were told was, oh yeah, you're allowed to grapple if it's been pre-organized and everyone's okay with it. Yeah, you just like flattened me. Just like
Assuming you're okay with
yeah,
it.
no, I was completely okay with it. I was like, okay, we're doing this. I was like, I was gonna be like, oh, let's have like a little scrap backwards and forwards. I'll do a bit of winning, you do a bit of winning. No, you were just like, no, I'm just gonna like get on top of you and pummel your face in. Everyone loved that, by the way, because obviously, like the half magic of the Black Knight is no one knows who it is. So there was people like came up to me like all day after that and was just like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed the tournament. I don't know if you were there. I really enjoyed a particular Black Knight getting his face punched in.
It was just the fact that Glee's in this like beautiful long red flowing dress with her like golden belt and everything. She's just like pummels you to the ground. I was like, this is cool. Because we loved in the grappling side. I want to do more grappling. I don't know. Eventually, I feel like Nymeria and Damon are eventually going to have an argument and they're going to solve it in the glory square with their fists. So that'll be fun. But that was a lot of fun just getting to kind of do that because then all the Black Knights were basically they were out pretty quick.
Yeah, well, you dispatched quite quickly. So that's the thing. I got to like see a fair bit of like Graham and Kate kind of like embodying Godric and Aranel as well, and like they did such an amazing job, and like um especially like Graham as Reynard embodying Godric was like he got his mannerisms down completely well, like doing the proper like Godric roar, like when he got overexcited, angry changeling in the battlefield, and that got me a little bit because I thought like I'm at peace with the fact that I'm not a frontline. I don't want to be a frontline fighter anymore. I've not got my shield. I'm not running in and screaming down orcs, and then I'm just like it kind of got me a little bit because I was like some of those moments that I treasure in LARP, just the silly things like the time where I like made an entire line of orcs like step back on one of the battlefields just by being cocky, so yeah, Graham, thank you for that. And there was a moment where yeah, like Reynard as Godric got like someone was like like attacking him and Persephone as Aranel like screamed, "That's my love!" and just went absolutely mad at this person.
I didn't see this.
Yeah,
This is
yeah. No, that's the thing. Like you saw they were great, because they were no, they embodied the pair of them just amazing because they were so protective of each other, Aranel and Godric, and that they got that down to. The thing is that's the one thing that I don't think I said. I know I didn't say that to them because I kind of said, "Oh yeah, Godric is a bit." I said what Godric's like, but I think if people would say what were they like as a pair, they were just like overly protective of each other.
That's what I said.
So.
I said they protected one another, like, and they always fought with one another. Like it was very rare they would be separate sides of the field, like a line or something. They would always be right together and watching out.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a little bit of information here. Not all of it, because I'll let Kate and Graham decide if they want to reveal anything else in the comments to anyone. But I will say that Reynard and Safi did not know who the other person was. They didn't know who was there is Aranel and who was there is Godric. Someone set that up, so I'll let them decide if they want to reveal anything there or if they want to just leave it for now, because that's another active plot which I absolutely loved because I love Griffin's song.
Yeah,
just...
yeah. That's the cool thing. Like I was trying to say earlier, like those characters are the worlds now. Like they're it's the world of Empire that those characters now belong to them, which was obviously like a real kind of got me a little bit because it's just like like he's gone and he belongs to someone else. Basically, he belongs in stories and like yeah, Aranel and Godric's story still affects the characters that are around now, and they're going to affect all the people. And for anyone who's not died at LARP yet, at Empire particularly, that's a really cool thing to experience. Even though, yeah, there's parts of me that I'm like, oh, I wish that character hadn't died. That's something very unique to having a character that's dead in the system, because then you get to see their legacy as you wander around as another person, as a stranger. Um, and then I had there was a further scrap, wasn't there? And then who won the
Yeah.
Did Godric and Aranel actually, like, were they the last one standing, or was there a couple standing?
So after that, it was basically a case of all the heroes fight.
Yeah,
There was no
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 winner. Yeah,
calls or anything. No one was trying to win in a sense. It was just we were all putting on a show.
yeah.
So everyone had this epic fight. Glee took on two people. And it turned into a bit of a WWE style. I used the ropes. I like backed against the ropes and like jumped off into the other two. And we had a quick, the two people I was like fighting with, I don't actually know who they were, so feel free to reach out because that was great fun. We did like a quick whisper of like, are you okay if I hit you with the pommel of the sword sort of thing? And they're like, yeah, let's go for it. So we got to put on a bit of a fun WrestleMania style show, and it was good fun. And we all at the end, then we all got to speak to people as our characters. Several people came up to speak to Glee. There's people in our family all coming up to speak to Aranel and Godric, and then
Oh man, yeah. So
we all
like,
faded away.
this is the thing. So it's like, obviously, I kind of, as Damon, as the Black Knight, as Damon, I just stood beside. I couldn't hear a thing. This is the thing, and it was just like, this is what Damon would do as his Black Knight guys. He would just stand and kind of just watch things play out, and it was like killing me that I couldn't hear what was being said, basically, because I just saw, like, yeah, my old family of like Mortaire and Descendris, go and talk to Godric and Aranel. I'm just like, and it was just a cool thing to see them all like reunited again. And there was like, I saw there was tears and things like that once again, and it was like, yeah, it was a bizarre moment, but just in the best way.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, in what other hobby can you get an experience like that? It's pretty damn cool. There's also a shot as well of Graham Gooded as Godric, and he's like fighting and showing off in the tournament once again. And that really got me. I was like, oh god, like, yeah, there he is. There's Godric once again. It happened to be like House Mortaire were like viewing like on the outside of the glory square. I'm just like, oh yeah, what?
Oh.
So Godric got to show off in front of House Mortaire one last time. So anyway, let's move on before I start crying.
I miss Aranel.
It's cool though. Again, if they weren't gone, we wouldn't have these cool things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got lots of cool things coming up anyway. You're a new Night Protector, so yeah.
So yeah. Well, moving on from that, we sort of headed back. I got back into Nymeria kit. There was a few conversations. We were gonna be like, okay, should we go and like head out for a little bit, have a walk away? Then Nymeria sees Sephi. He was extremely upset because her best friend had just died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where we found out about Bobbert.
Yeah, so we found out Bobbert, and it was like,
Oh.
it's funny, like, so yeah, Bobbert's played by Jay, who's been on the podcast. Shout out. And yeah, it was one of those deaths that was a little bit like, oh, they're gone. And what was strange is that as Damon, like, so I have an idea of the life that he has led, as a Mortaire, and he is definitely someone that has lost many friends and many family members, many loved ones, and it is not he definitely wouldn't be like, oh my god, not Bobbert. He was when he was like, I struggled because I was upset. I was upset that he had died, and I was like, whoa, hang on, like, Damon's definitely upset, but he's not going to be shedding tears and things like that. He's going to be like, well, that's that's what we do. We're heroes of the Empire. All stories must end. So gave Persephone a hug and then went back to the business. That he was doing. Because I
The,
was like in the middle of
yeah.
having like a conversation with someone, and I was just like, yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry, and then back to it.
Well, this was quite interesting actually, because this is the first time I've slipped up, by the way, and called you Godric, and that's because Godric and Bob are really close, and there was part of me that was like,
Yeah.
oh, and like I said it by mistake, oh, Damon, and like trying to break the news to you and stuff, and then I was realizing the fact that I was almost expecting Godric's reaction, but this isn't what was happening, and then
I struggled.
I
I would say I did struggle with it. I was like, no, Damon can't act like this because I've got an idea of how he would act in this situation.
Yeah. Because then like I stayed to speak to Safi and was like, it ended up being like I was like, oh, because it was a moment of right, how would Nymeria act to this? And she ended up guiding Zeppi through like a lot of words of wisdom. A lot of wisdom was coming up in this conversation. And we chatted about things and everything. And it was really beautiful. It was really good and everything. No, it was yeah. But again, like these are conversations that brings these characters and everything like closer together.
Well, I mean,
The entire house knew Bobbert, so the entire house was very quite like, oh,
yeah,
right,
because funnily
okay.
enough, like Bobbert had written a letter to Morrigan about something and had basically referenced his relationship to Damon in it as well. So even the characters that didn't know Boba that well were like, oh yeah, no, we have a connection here. So funnily enough, I think last time you mentioned Hoops, who was hanging out with the house a bit, knew so their previous Fizz rep. So their Fizz rep previously had been in the marches, so that I think there was a lot of connections there with Bobbert's Fizz rep and So I think that there was definitely backstory connections with Hoops and Bobbert, which gave us a ton of roleplay for the rest of the evening. So I know Jay didn't mean to die, but it gave us a ton to talk about. Because yeah, I was very much like, oh, this gives me good role play now because I'm like, okay, well, I can talk. So Damon's very much a let's obviously you want to mourn, but let's talk about if we're going to talk about Bobbert, let's talk about all the things that he did well, and let's not talk about he died gloriously, even for a marcher, and let's talk about all the things that he did in life that were amazing. Let's not weep and cry and things like that. So that actually gave me a
Yeah.
lot to talk about, with someone who was kind of new to the nation, which is cool.
No, that was I mean, like, yeah, so going on from there, we end up having, just lots of fun role play with a lot of different people. And then eventually it led us to the next big thing that evening. So as I said, I was invited to go on a conjunction, which I ended up not going on, and I got someone else to take my place and everything on it. And it kind of worked out kind of perfectly because that ended up being at the exact same time that we ended up having a very important meeting.
So, I had a conversation with the Prince of the Reapers at the Reapers Rest, the player event. There was a discussion about Damon wearing a mask. That's like very antithetical to his who he is as a person, wearing a mask, hiding yourself away from death, or hiding yourself away for fear of death. Is very antithetical to House Mortet and definitely to Damon. So there was a lot of conversation about loyalty, which is the way to get Damon's ear, basically. And one of the things that the prince said was like, if you wear a mask, I'll get you can have a meeting with the Reaper at the winter solstice. And I was like, oh, so the League have the Festival of the Reaper at the winter solstice. So we went up. Unfortunately, it was peeing down with rain. We
Yeah.
went to see. It was almost to the point where we were like, I'm so glad we did go up and have our meeting, because it was that way, that it was that raining that much that you were like, and it was cold as well. We were like, do we want to just all huddle in and just stay in the tent, in the house tent, because we were having like conversation in the house tent. We were like, no, we'll go up. You're like, well, basically, I think it was like me and you, right? Because I was just like, well, no, I've the Crimson Reapers fought hard for us today.
Yep.
They are, there are members in there that are my
You
friends.
loyalty guilted the house.
I did loyalty guilt the house, and I think the ones that came were glad that they did come, because I was just like, I basically went like, I'm going. So if anyone else come, I don't blame you, but I'm definitely going to show my loyalty to the Reapers.
And that's how we said, wasn't it? You're like,
Yeah.
I for one will be showing my loyalty to the Reapers.
Yeah.
I walked out. You dropped the
Yeah.
rose and walked out.
I dropped the virtuous mic and headed off to see the Reapers. And then so a few of the house came with us to see to the Reaper tent. Which, by the way, again, it was. I'm not just saying, oh, it was peeing out of rain. Like, by the way, like the league camp is on the other end of the entire field to where we are in Dawn. So, like in the wind and rain, it's not. It wasn't it's not a pleasant journey up there particularly. But yeah, when we got there, they haven't. I think, as I knew, they have a nice big like house tent that would like has sides
got a nice
and
big
things
tent.
like that. Yeah,
it's warm. They've got chairs. They have alcohol. So it's all fine.
Yeah, the worst alcohol I've ever tasted.
Oh, for
Dolly,
goodness sake, Dolly.
Dolly, the worst mead I've ever.
I went blind. I went temporarily blind during that meeting with the Reaper. And it's your fault, not Fark's. Your fault.
I know Fark was like, I was like, well, this is our relationship. I'm pretty sure that Damon and Fark would have. He was like, oh, I made this mead. It's terrible. And I'm like, okay, let me try it. You're right. It is terrible. It's the worst mead I've ever. You can barely call this mead. So yeah, we had our meeting with the Reaper as well. Well, like technically, like yours and I's second interaction with the Reaper, which I'm glad I had the little like back and forth at the Reaper's Rest, because we had our meeting. I'm not going to go into everything that was said. There was some really, really interesting things, said that you can read between the lines of what the Reaper. Because Damon's trying to figure out what he is, and yeah, I want to find it all out in game, So I'm very intrigued by the Reaper.
Can you send mail to the Reaper? Is that a thing?
Well, I think we're going to, right? Because we've got something going on at E2 that we probably
do. I need to send some mail to the Reaper, but is that a thing?
I'm sure if you send it via the right person, you can get to the Reaper. So
by the Crimson Reapers.
Yeah, we had the mask on. I had the same mask that was bought for me by the Prince of the Reapers. So it was exactly the same mask. That was the mask I was wearing. So yeah, like Morrigan came with us, and then it's funny because Morrigan started speaking to the Reaper and was like, saying things, asking questions, and I was like, okay, so I've got to use my inside information, not inside information. I've got to use the information that I picked up, because asking the same questions that I was when I first spoke to the Reaper. I was like, by the way, Morrigan, the Reaper is not a personification of death. He is merely someone who takes people to their fate, i.e. the labyrinth. And then the conversation shifted, and it was like, oh, right, okay, so that's what you do. You're not just a death personified, because the thing is, in pop culture, a lot of times when they show the Grim Reaper, like he's a personification of death. He's not just someone who, whereas like the Reaper in an Empire, he's more of the like the ferryman over the River Styx type thing. He's taking them to the labyrinth. So we had a real good conversation backwards and forwards with the Reaper, which was really fun.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely amazing. Like, I'm definitely glad we were able to get there and have that and everything. And no, yeah, that's again unleashed like a lot more game there as well.
There were some really interesting
Yeah.
conversations going on. There was some really interesting. Yeah, I kind of want to say on the podcast, but I can't because obviously then people like people catch wind of what my speculation is and things like that. So I can't say anymore. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So we'll finish up there. And then we're like, yeah, let's head back to our house. Let's go chat to everyone, let them know what happened, and then figure out how their little conjunction went. See what happened there, and hopefully they'll have some cool new information.
No, they all got
For
cursed.
the winter realm.
They all
all cursed.
They're all cursed.
A lot of them.
Yeah, we met Kay on the way back, and it was just so obvious that he was just cursed.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, great.
Shout out to Kay for some excellent roleplay.
Yeah. Luckily, by this time,
terrifyingly excellent.
Yeah,
roleplay.
The rain had subsided. Luckily, by this point, luckily we didn't just like hide away in our tent. It subsided slightly on our walk back from the Reapers. Then we had, picked up Kay, who was just really really cursed. Which is really cool roleplay as well, because we were just like, okay, let's just carefully bring him back, and he was being very like.
Do you know what I love though, Oliver?
Go on.
Now, Miria and Damon had the same reaction. Everyone else is like, oh, okay. And both of us just gripped the hilt of our daggers.
Yeah, I know, we just had our daggers in our hands.
We just automatically did that.
Yeah.
And we're like walking, being like, yeah, so tell us more about this. We're like, you're not getting near me. I will cut you down.
Yeah, it was cool. I like that type of thing. We got back. There was a... there was some fun role play with trying to get curses removed, whatnot. There was exorcisms. There was talking backwards and forwards between like house members and friends, and
Arcavian wanted to cleave everyone.
Yeah, no, that was quite funny. I've never seen him so excited. He was like, I think you saw someone was cursed. He was just like, just cleave his leg, just cleave his leg.
Like, he's not done anything yet, Arcavian. No, I can cleave his leg. We're gonna do this.
Like, empower me, and I can just impale him. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh, that was just amazing.
Yeah. There's some really good shots of that as well, like that whole that whole sequence. There's some real good shots of like the house as well, like being like all worried about everybody and all the different reactions and whatnot. So yeah, we got, even though it felt like when we were like huddled in the tent before we went to Reapers, we were like, it feels like the end of the evening, but a lot happened later on in the evening, so we got to talk about a load of curses that happened on that conjunction that will probably cause some really fun game as well. Also, coming into the end of the evening, that we then sat down to have like our Saturday evening, which is it's actually my favorite part of the game, even though we can't really, it's not really something you want to like talk about what happens on air, because it's like, it's all role play between the group, but like having the group role play late Saturday evening where we all just like we're in our little game.
Yeah.
But the group's got some real good game currently. Like we've got. It
gave us a really good opportunity for us all to kind of share that game amongst one another, be able to figure out like what Mortar have actually been up to, and the whole lot have just been up to just so many shenanigans. And
we're pretty deep in some crazy stuff currently. Like there's some really cool, like, the thing is, there's levels of game, right? There's like the things you do, every day, like not every day, but like the things that you're going to do, like, I'm going to go to Song Stories, I'm going to go to this, I'm going to go to the Remembrance Festival. Then there's the there's big battles, then there's chasing after like hats, like, senator and this, that, the other. But then there's like the game that's like focused on your specific characters that can only happen to your characters. That's a really juicy game there.
Yeah, exactly. Because like that took us right up until like timeout, and I'm quite grateful we did this. We actually did all kind of like, we're all in the house tent at this point. We went way past timeout. And then we kind of all went to like out of character and just had a bit of a chat, like of more mechanics. Like, what did we just get up to?
Well, the reason we did that is because we were going so deep into like what's happening, and we have this like these interpersonal connections that are completely in character, that we know OC there's stuff going on, so that we know that certain characters that are literal siblings are lying to each other and or not divulging certain things. And then when it came to like 1 a.m., it was just like, oh, it's 1 a.m. and we're like, dun dun dun.
I love that role played right at the end
Yeah.
because there is friction in our house and it's subtle and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love how basically something happened, everybody had different opinions and views on it. And it really showcased the differences. There's a big difference mainly between Morrigan and Nymeria, and they clash a lot. And it was really beautiful to role play out something that Mark and I were like, yeah, they're totally going to clash on things, aren't they? It was so nice for it to organically happen in role play and for us to kind of like have those discussions and things. And it was just beautifully done.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
I can't wait to do more.
Yeah, but thing is, because I think that, like, yeah, because like Killian and Damon default to loyalty in two different ways. Like the house members get away with certain stuff, you know. So like, that there can be like, oh yeah, Nymeria's just like, oh, I'm getting a night ritual done, and another member will be like, well, I don't really like night magic, you know, and it's just like. It doesn't matter if someone turns around to the other house members like, by the way, Nymeria's doing this, and you know, a majority of the house will be like, they'll say what they think, but also, I will just let well, that's Nymeria, we love her, and that goes for everybody in the house. So the
Yeah.
house can get up to some real heinous stuff, and most of us will let it slide in all our different ways, even that, which is good because we'll have different reactions, but it's still going to happen. We're just going to voice our opinion in whatever way suits our character, but we're still like trying our hardest to stay a unit, you know?
We were so close to timeout, which maybe was a good idea, a good thing, because like I don't remember what exactly was said. I know that Morgan said something. I know that Nymeria was very much like, well, that isn't exactly wise, is it? And like it was very much like no, that's why would you do that? And it was very much that sort of tone as well. And I'm like, for me personally, I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I play it? Because I mean, we're friends. I'm about to call your bullshit here. And it was just saying it was good because like right after we almost had a bit of it almost turned into a bit of like that like aftercare session, which was kind of needed because our house is starting to get into some real serious stuff now. And I think we're going to start needing those little sessions after being like, we're all good, we're all okay.
It's so cool though.
I'm
so cool.
sorry for cursing you earlier. I didn't mean that.
So that wraps up Saturday. We'll go on to Sunday.
So the rain was pretty bad on like the Saturday night. And then throughout the night, it was that sort of like nice feeling, you know, how you can hear rain outside and
yeah,
it almost like helps you sleep.
Peaceful. You know what it was like? You know what it was like?
Yeah.
You know what it was like? Right. In fact, this whole event, you know what it was like? The original Disney Winnie the Pooh cartoons, right? You had the blustery day one day, and then it starts raining, right? And you have dreams of heffalumps and woozles, or curses.
Head agreement.
And you wake up to a flood. That's literally what Sunday was like. And I agree, like honestly, every time I woke up, I was like weirdly like, oh, the rain, that's awful, but at the same time it is so like calming having the rain like on the tent, like it makes you sleep. And everyone I spoke to later who didn't have their tent flooded said the same thing. But it got to wake up time and the rain is coming down. I'm like, I think I could just stay here. I think I could just not play this game today and just stay here. Is peeing down rain. I don't even want to look outside the tent, to be honest.
But still, we did.
But still, we did. We
went out and maybe like a shout out like the we got our tent washed and reproofed before this event. I have never been so grateful for something.
Yeah, the good money well spent, by the way, to get our tent reproofed because what a difference that made. Also, just by pure like luck that we have ended up in that kind of spot in the Dawn Camp, Mortaire, that we are on a slight kind of rise because like the field kind of does like it has kind of little dips, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in Dawn and that part of the Brass Coast that's on that part of the field. Yeah, unfortunately, people that were in the dips were like literally underwater. So I was like grumpy and like, oh god, you know, it's raining, it's crap. I don't really want to. I don't want a monster today. La, la, la.
Yeah.
I get up and I'm like, right, I'm gonna obviously just go do the normal bodily functions that you need to do in the morning. So I end up heading out to the Portaloos and I start seeing that people are literally underwater in their like the tents are literally underwater, and the wood chip road, it is just like it's a sinkhole. Like I tried to
Yeah.
like I spoke to someone, but like groggy way in the morning, like you speak to someone, they're like in their dressing gown and you're like hair's all over the place and you're like half awake, and I'm like, they're like, oh, I wouldn't try and go over the wood chips, and all right, and I kind of like tried to like avoid what I thought was a puddle and kind of like find the solid bits. And I'm like, you're serious? You really cannot walk over the wood chips. Like there was nowhere in those wood chips that you could actually walk in. It was literally just a
But the
sinkhole.
Portaloos were just sinking.
Oh yeah, so I apparently the Portaloos I ended up going to, which is the ones near the military tent. They were apparently the safe ones because then I started hearing stories that people were in Portaloos and they were sinking into the ground. So,
It was
uh,
not nice. But I mean, positive. I mean, the Brass Coast got their coast back.
oh, we'll bring the coast to Anvil. There we go. Stop making your Brass Coast jokes now. Yeah.
Sorry, Brass Coast
Yeah,
players.
yeah. I mean, this event was the brass roast.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Won't do any more of them. Um, yeah, but it was bad. Like, and I think we said on the first episode of this podcast of this recap that it was worse than the photos that I'd seen from like the Mudpocalypse, and people have since like said the difference between the Mudpocalypse event was that it was the first event ever at Dadford Roads, which we're still at, and none of the preparations were made. So I imagine the weather was maybe like worse or as bad uh, this event as it was in the Mudpocalypse, but there wasn't the drainage or the road layout at all for that Mudpocalypse event as there was for this one. But this one was pretty bad. The forecast, fortunately, was like, oh yeah, it's going to actually brighten up at like midday, and they were
Yeah.
like, right, okay. Selfishly, it all worked out for us because we came into the weekend wanting to fight on the Sunday and Monster on the Saturday because we had so much going on the Saturday. And then it worked out because we ended up fighting on the Saturday, and then the Sunday the big battle was basically cancelled, but not really. They
Yeah,
It
they
was a
basically
big
set up,
skirmish, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
they set up a large skirmish with capped numbers for safety reasons. That's fair enough. Yeah, so like it's all for selfish reasons. I wanted to monster as the Grendel because I haven't seen the Grendel brief yet. I want to know what they could do.
Haven't seen the Grendel brief. Or to be fair, no, actually, no, I haven't. I haven't seen the
You
all
know,
the
I mean, like the
different
big boards. So I want to know what abilities they
the
got. Like
boards.
I know
Yeah,
what the Jotun can do. I know what the
yeah.
Druid can do. I don't know what the Grendel can do.
What do we feel like? My Grendel kit wasn't really like I didn't even have anything purple, to be honest. Then we had like bandanas that we'd bought, that we ended up losing anyway. That so I don't know where they are. So we weren't really prepared to monster, and I don't know. Just it was just the sweetest thing I'd ever heard at Empire LARP, being like, "Oh yeah, there's a battle going on, but you don't have to monster because they're probably gonna like they only need a certain amount of people." I'm like, "Oh, the best thing to hear ever. You don't have to monster."
And
Awesome.
luckily, I did hear a lot of people were turned away.
Yeah, Yeah, no, a lot of
So
people. I think a lot of people do enjoy it. Just because I don't enjoy it, I'm not like saying it's a bad part of the game. It's just I don't particularly enjoy it.
I like monstering. I prefer monstering on the Saturday because I've got enough time to have a shower afterwards and get changed. Plus, um, it's just quite nice to go and have a shower like
Yeah.
during the event. So I do like monstering. I do enjoy it. I've got plans, like big plans for like Grendel monster and stuff going forward. So I'm really hoping we get to do that a lot more. But yeah, this was not going to happen. And actually, it worked out great for us because the
Yeah.
event would have had a very different ending
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, it did. So yeah, because it was great because we were like, okay, well, we can take our time getting ready, and then we can actually time in as our characters and not like have to go off monstering and then spend half the day like getting ready again. Especially last year because we had wet pack downs, so
Mm,
people were like clearing up early, so you'd monster, and then you'd come back, get into your character, and then people were only in character for like an hour, and then that was kind of it.
yeah.
This time we had the entirety of Sunday up until 3 o'clock to actually roleplay.
Yeah. Like we were still like late getting into character because obviously like the when by the time the announcement came around, it was like 9:30 to get into my Nymeria stuff. I give myself an hour and a
Yeah,
half to 2 hours. So at
yeah,
this point, I was in my pajamas, like making coffee. So I was nowhere near ready. I don't think I started getting into kit until 10. So, but we still had obviously a lot more time, and we were able to go
yeah.
around and
Again, it worked out pretty well for us because there was a yeah, like so yeah, because Mark getting into like the Morrigan stuff like takes a long time, and I know he was like, oh, if I go monster, then I'm probably not going to bother doing just basically with Morrigan. Um, but luckily we bumped into Morrigan because uh yeah, we have a mercenary banner this event. We still hadn't paid them, so
yeah,
we still haven't
hit
paid
him a
them
little
yet.
bit.
Yeah, we still haven't paid them. So Fark is just the best the best Crimson Reaper ever, who's such a good friend. Is just like, okay, like if you don't pay them, there might be a little reckoning. Okay, there might be a little reckoning, right? Just the nicest way to say you're going to be cursed ever. Um,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That just set me into complete no, that is not happening. Um
I wanted it, but
I was I don't know. I was just like, oh my God, that sounds like the worst thing ever. That's not happening. So we kind of went now. What I will say about our house is they're absolutely wonderful because the entire house banded together actually
yeah,
to
that's
make sure
that's
we
why
were
I was
sorted.
like, I'm glad Morrigan was there because I like I literally said to Morrigan, I was like, by the way, we might be getting a reckoning. What do you think that's gonna do to the house's reputation? And luckily, we had basically the enchantress being like, "Oh, that's not a good thing. That let's make sure we pay them." Basically, so
Yeah. So like it so I had been given some donations from from two other houses in Dawn. So that's equal. So I will wield 15 thrones. The donations from our two houses equal to 7 thrones, which means just had to come up with the rest. So when it came to the rest, our house put up quite a bit. I had the kids there. The kids went and made me like 3 thrones. Like they were on it when I told them, and I was like, yeah, I need to pay because they were quite into the Crimson Reaper game. I was like, well, kids, I need to pay the Crimson Reapers. Here's all the stuff. Whenever you make stuff, bring it back. And they did. They were like going at we did our usual 50-50 split, and they still made like quite a lot. And then the house members went out selling things, getting that money together. And it worked out kind of beautifully because at the same time, obviously, Damon was out getting his thing sorted out. So we were all like bumping into each other at different points.
I'm such a dick. Damon is such a
Am
dick.
I a dick for bringing this up?
No, not at all. No, because like Damon is just such a Dornish noble, that he was like, okay, we owe this, he's well aware that how much we owe to certain people, but he's managed to like people were running around after Damon being like, oh, I've got you this, I've got you this, got you that. Damon at the same time was paying for a woodcutter's axe, which is about like, I don't know, what is it, like a 6th throne investment or something like that, to get woodcut sucks at the same time. People like, I've got this. And I'm like, cool. Well.
Okay, everybody, let's revisit our math lesson. We owed 15 thrones. So far, we had 7 thrones. How many more thrones did we need?
Yeah. Also, Damon's got a load of resources as well, and potions, and yeah. But he's just like, oh yeah, we need this. To his yo folk, he's just like, oh yeah, we need this. By the way, also, I also need this many ingots of green iron and this many ingots of world silver, and they're just like, oh, we'll do our best. It generated a lot of game for our yo folk who wanted to be like who wanted to do trading, because I'm not.
I'm so glad this generated that game, because it sparked an interest.
Yeah,
it wasn't there before that we needed.
Yeah, so it was great. It was great just playing that character that just has like stupid spending habits that now we have a group in Dawn that can actually facilitate that people, we've got enough basically boots on the ground to go around and actually trade and generate income and things like that. So that did help a lot, but it was funny. It was just like everyone's like, oh yeah, we need to pay the Reapers back. I'm just like, hang on, I'm just doing some more trading, and
just getting some more wealth silver.
I'm trading for wealth silver, just buying a really expensive sword. Because out of character, that's kind of what I wanted to get this event anyway. It was fine. Out of character as well. We had like sort of discussed it and went, how in this storyline, how do we want this to go? Because we could, obviously, we were going to pay the Reapers off. We could. It was fine, but we could have made a decision. Actually, should we not? Because then we could have like some game with us getting a reckoning or something. That would have been fun as well. I personally wanted Damon to get a reckoning or on behalf of House Mortaire, because I thought that would be a real good. I thought it'd be a real good game, because like winter is about like paying the price, and we're a winter house, and the fact that it was technically Nymeria that agreed the price and was the one organizing the money. I thought it'd be, what would the house think if Damon took the curse for Nymeria's debt? You know, I thought it would be quite cool. And also, I wanted a roleplay being cursed.
It might happen again in the future. Don't worry.
It might happen again. We can maybe figure something out. But we ultimately was just like, no, obviously we'll just pay the debt off and it'd be fine. But it was quite hilarious because we didn't in character relay any of this to the Crimson Reapers. So the Prince of the Reapers, right? Like, we're coming up towards time in.
Okay.
Go on, you're excited
because this was brilliant. I was in the house. So I was in the camp at the table, and I had my kid there with me. And we'd gone through all perfect. We had all the money together, plus some extra. And what was taking me a while is I was looking at a few like rings, not money rings, but like actual rings, like Reapery style rings. Got them all together and put it all into like a little bag. And then the Prince of the Reapers walks in, all like, time for this, we're looking for this.
Time
the debt collectors are behind them. Got it. And I was like, oh, just in time. Here you go. There's a little extra in there because we're a bit late, and a few gifts, courtesy of House Mortaire. And it was that kind of like,
it deflated the energy of it, didn't it? It's just like, I'm gonna get to reckon someone. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I was really, we're like, we could find you someone to reckon. We could definitely find you someone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we ended up just sitting down and having a conversation anyway, because that's the thing.
Chatted about curses.
Yeah, because it was getting that time, and like everyone was like, kind of. Obviously, everyone was fed up with the weather and things like that. It was still flooded everywhere, and so we just kind of chatted about curses for ages, and that I still want. I would still like Damon to get some kind of curse, because I think it would just be fun roleplay for him. So maybe I can figure out a way that I can get a reckoning from the Reapers some other way, or another way to get a curse. Who knows? But yeah, it was it was still a particular highlight, to be honest, of the event.
Because the last event that we had, Arnell sat down in that camp with the Reapers, having real interesting conversations about curses. And then she died. And then this event, we ended it with Nymeria and Damon sitting down with the Reapers discussing curses. that game is not gone. It's not lost. It's still there. You can still access it, even with a different character. And I think that's quite an important thing. I think when you lose a character, you kind of think, wow, all those connections I made, all those friendships, all those plot lines that I was invested in are gone. They're not gone. They're still there. You're just approaching them slightly differently. And
Yeah.
there's no reason why you can't access them all again.
Yeah. And by the
And that's
way,
what this event has shown us.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's all about having fun. Like, people can sometimes are afraid of like the term metagaming, but like it's technically metagaming to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write my character so I have an advantage in this part of the game. It's not metagaming in a cheating way. It's literally just a, oh yeah, I'm gonna write backstory with this leaguish guild, and we want to keep pursuing that game. I'm looking forward to the relationships we strengthen, and some new groups that we've started a game with that I kind of want to grow those relationships as well. Coming into E2 as well. It's going to be a big event for Damon and Nymeria. We've got things to celebrate. And yeah, so even though Sunday was a literal washout, we got some roleplay done, which was nice. If we had done any of the monstering, I don't think. Apart from what I heard from the actual battle that they did have, this large scale skirmish they did have, people said they still had a good time and it was still a good fight. So I don't think anyone was like kind of going away being like I felt robbed or anything from not having that battle. I don't know. I didn't hear any grumbles, to be honest, about it. I think everyone who really, really, really wanted to fight got to fight. But what can you do? It's British weather. They put something on, basically. It was literally because of the ground conditions, and then it was packed down. So the worst pack down ever. The worst pack down ever.
Yeah, there was all kinds of stress here, and everyone who was there, yeah, we all know what it was like.
Yeah.
Many vehicles were stuck
Yeah.
in the mud. PD made the decision, which was the right call.
Yeah. 100%.
They made the call to not allow any vehicles onto the field.
Yeah.
Now, before timeout, we did have people going around, namely our guards going around and making sure our people are aware of what's going on. What PD did is they made sure they knew who in each nation had access, needs and requirements, who would need additional help when it came to packing things down, prioritizing those with like young kids and things like that to try and get them off the field. The God tent had a whole section for this and had people queuing so that they could get this sorted out. And basically everyone banded together.
PD kept very calm. Like I literally,
so calm.
I think I spotted like when we were going to get something out. I spotted like Claire and that, like, and I was like, I bet, like this is very stressful, knowing what's coming, because obviously this was still kind of in time in, and it was like a couple of hours before timeout, and I'm like, I bet you guys obviously know what's about to happen when everyone starts leaving. But they were very calm. Obviously there are a lot of people coming to them with queries, being like, it did not. The atmosphere was better than it was like this time last year, or like E2 last year, when like, oh, there's a storm coming, and everyone like panicked and like started bringing cars on at like midday and started taking things down. Like the atmosphere was actually better here, because I think everyone just knew, they were like, well, we know it's going to be terrible, we may as well like enjoy the rest of the event and then get to it when we get to it, basically.
Yeah, like we had a funny moment actually. So Albert, you and Tom went off to get the van, because you were allowed to bring the van not onto the actual camp bit, but a bit close enough to one of the main road sections.
Yeah.
So you guys went off to the van. Well, you went off to the car. And this is when we realized we didn't know where the car was.
Yeah,
this was amazing. This was amazing.
It was my fault because I hadn't listened.
Yeah. So one of our friends had the car for the weekend, and they had driven the car up, and they parked, and they said the car was stuck, and they got as close as they could. You thought they had parked in the out of
I
character
don't know.
section, so you guys.
Yeah, I must have just heard a different story, and then just
Oh,
was like, I just thought that story was the story I was told, and then went, oh yeah, it's up in the out of character car park. Awesome, and then
it,
I
it
headed up there.
became it just became hilarious. So because you guys were like looking for the car, you couldn't find it, and eventually you were just decided we can't find the car. We'll get the van. We'll start coming back. Then Tom comes running over, and I'm just like, oh well. And I was like, have we actually looked in the dawn out of character camping? There was in the dawn out of character camping. We found
Yeah,
the car, and Tom and I ended up. So we found the car, and we just end up spending a lot of time pushing cars out because it just so happened we started packing the car up, and it just so happened that every time we came around, another car was stuck. So we're like, okay, let's get back to pushing the cars out. And it was a way that everyone just came running together.
yeah.
Everyone helped one another. That reduced the stress. We didn't have people panicking and worrying about things. Everyone was together. They had tractors coming on and off to help people. It was fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
because obviously, there's they had to say like no cars allowed because you let one per everyone was in the same boat because there was
yeah,
people going, oh yeah, I've got if I bring my trailer on, I can do it's like, but literally everybody was in the same boat, and obviously it felt bad because like we had friends who like several friends who had exactly the same scenario. Several friends came up and said, oh yeah, I'm going to struggle to take all. We've got loads of stuff here for an entire group of like 12 people or 10 people or 8 people, and most of them have gone home already. I cannot physically take it all down and take it to, and we, yeah, again, I can think of 3 separate people that came up to us and said those words basically. And it's almost like, yeah, I would come and help you, but we're literally in the same boat, and everyone is in the same boat. So we're
yeah.
all
We
gonna
were the
have to be
same, weren't
like,
we?
yeah, like I would totally come and help take your camp down, but like I've literally got to take our entire camp down, and we're gonna be exactly the same.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Like, what time were you actually there
oh no, yeah,
till?
timeout was at 3. I didn't get leave site until 9:15 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the true hero of Anvil. So at Christmas, our parents bought us a gift for LARP, and it was a trolley. It was one of these like fabric like
A big
trolleys,
one,
big one with
off-road wheel
off-road
type
wheels.
things.
And honestly, packing it this time, I was like, oh, it's a good gift and it would be handy, but do we have space for it? Do we actually need it? No, it was the actual hero of E1 because like everyone was using it. Everyone's like, oh, the trolley because take our
I
stuff off.
came this close to charging people throwing a turn.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you want to use my trolley? Oh, here we
So
go.
many people were
Throwing,
eyeing it
please.
up. And I was like, I'm throwing it can be yours right now for
Yeah.
the next 15 minutes.
Thing is, like, it would have been way worse if it hadn't actually properly brightened up because it actually brightened up as people were leaving. And by the time that's the thing, because I had the trolley and I had the van, we were helping everybody else get their stuff to their cars. And obviously, once their cars were packed, they were then leaving. I was just at the end of the chain, so I ended up like on my own, like just like, and I thought I was gonna have to take all the stuff up to my van, and then luckily, by the time everyone had left, most people had left, and I was like left on my own, but the sun had come out and everything had started drying up. So I could actually get my van. I actually drove my van to my tent. So because PD at about like 7 p.m. they were like, "Oh, okay, well we're letting cars on now because there's hardly any cars and also everything's starting to dry up." So I managed to get the van to the tent, luckily, to pack it all down, pack the table down, pack everything else in, jump in the car. But yeah, still, I was like there until 9:15. I was like literally driving out of the. I think I phoned you as I was leaving site at like 9:15 and be like, oh well, which I'm glad I
I was
did.
sitting at my computer watching TV with my McDonald's, be like, oh, that sucks. I've had a shower. I feel great.
The thing is, it was fine because I was like, you know what, I have Monday off, so I was like, you know what, it's fine.
I didn't have
Yeah,
one.
you didn't. Well, that's why I was like to you. I was, and you had like, you had someone to take to the, who was going with you to take to the train station. Things like that. I was like, look, you guys just need to go because otherwise it's going to be crazy. I'm fine here. Like, if worst comes to worst, what I'll do is I'll drive home and then come back tomorrow and pick everything up. But anyway, well, we've gone so far over time with this one anyway, because I didn't really want to split into 2 episodes, but we
No.
better wrap up. Yeah, that was the terrible pack down. It was one of those ones where at the time you're like, is this even worth doing? Is this even worth it? And then after the fact, you start talking about it like, oh yeah, well, there's new experience, and we can't wait for E2. So
I mean, yeah, and positives. I think we're going to continue taking 2 vehicles each time, even in the summer as well, because that made things that reduced the stress a huge amount, allowed us to take friends and things, and yeah, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, now we can start all the planning for E2, which is going to be a real big one, actually.
it is, yeah, it is. But we'll get to that anyway. We're next week we're probably going to have a week off. We've got guests lined up before E2. We're going to do another episode on what there is to do at E2. So if you enjoyed our E1 version of that, we'll go through all the different things happening on the different nations. The episode
Just to jump on that, actually, like if you're doing something at E2, if you're running something, if there's an event happening or something that you think that new players, or even players that have been there for a long time should know about, could you, if you are up for sending that information to us, we'll cover that in the episode as well. The more things we can cover, the better. And we can hit as many people as we can.
Yeah, get in touch. Anyway, we'll wrap this up. If you enjoyed watching this show, make sure that you make sure you subscribe. If you are new to the Two Amateur Roll channel, leave us a comment down below. Let us know how you got on E1, how Pack Down went for you. Let us know if you got flooded out or not. If you're listening to us on an audio platform, give us a 5-star review. Go check out our Patreon if you want to. No obligation to do so, of course. And with that, I'll sign off. We'll sign off and say we love you very much and stay safe. See you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.